Good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody here today. Happy Sunday to you all. I hope you guys are all doing well. Uh, Let me lower my seat a little bit here. We got the volume on here. Let me just mute that. You know what? I was just doing some behind the scenes setup on the computer here last minute. I had actually accidentally booked the slot for today's Sunday live show for 10 p.m. So I'm sorry if I confused you guys if you had set your reminder for 10 p.m. I did that by mistake. Actually, I always want to do the show in the morning because Sunday night, I guess everybody's getting ready for the rest of the week. And so it's more convenient to do it in the morning. So I apologize if that was confusing for some of you. Happy Sunday to everyone. So can you give me a thumbs up if the volume, video, if everything's okay on your side? Seems to be okay here on my side. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. We're going to make this a great Sunday morning chat. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Just give me a thumbs up if the volume's okay, guys. Everything good? I hope so. All right, everything's good. Thank you. Good. So, welcome for all the newcomers today. Whoever's new in the house, thank you for joining us today. We have a great community of people that are actively on this live chat that happens every Sunday at 10 a.m. So, if you're new, welcome. Welcome to the group. Today is number 37. So, I'm happy about that. There's a lot of stuff to talk about today. And I wanted to just start off to say the usual stuff. You guys that come here every Sunday already know this. If you want to grab some swag, you can do so at the links right underneath the video. All the proceeds of that go to helping the channel and getting more gear to review, as well as getting the equipment that we need to produce the videos. So that's very helpful and very much appreciated. You can get a 10% discount today by using the code ATG37 and you get a 10% discount. Also, a shout out to the companies that are helping sponsor the event. So one of our great sponsors is the Custom Guitar Picks, and if you go to their website customguitarpicks.com, you can get a discount by typing in addicted to gear at the checkout, and you can get some pretty cool custom designed picks for you. You know, if you want to put your logo, your name on it, your kid's face, your dog's face, whatever it may be, you can do that and take advantage of that nice discount as well. So the question of the day, I want to talk about that a little bit. So the question of the day comes to you thanks to a member of our community here, and he suggested that we put the question of the day up for a little discussion, and I thought that was a really good question. So I asked it at the top of the page where the comments are, and basically the question of the day is how important or what features of a neck is most important to you when picking a guitar in order of priority. So is it the scale length, the fretboard radius, the neck thickness, the fret size, and we forgot one. Somebody reminded me early on that there's also the width of the neck. All right, that's a very important one as well. So I'm curious to see what you guys think and how you guys go about sizing up your guitars when you play them and what you prefer in a neck. I can tell you what my preference are, but I want to hear your comments first so we can discuss that openly. So let's go to the top, and first of all, let's say good morning to the people that are here today. The Gospel of Mark, unfortunately, says he's working, so he couldn't join us today, but he's going to tune in later. He's going to watch the rerun, I guess. And that's okay. I appreciate that, Mark. And he says that for him, the radius and fret size never seem to bother him, but he loves having a big fat neck and tends to prefer shorter scales. So that's pretty interesting. So fat necks, shorter scales for him. I guess it also depends what type of guitar you're actually playing, right? I mean, if you tend to go for if you tend to prefer Les Paul style guitars, Gibson style guitars, then you probably would prefer the shorter scale. If you're going with an Ibanez or Strat or something like that, you probably would prefer the longer scale length. So I think that really is a question of what you're accustomed to. Bruce is in the house. Good morning, Bruce Brooks. And he says that for him, there's no difference. He plays everything. Gibson, Fenders, PRS, small radius are better for chords, large better for lead. I prefer thinner, but not too thin necks. Can't play baseball bat necks. So he's kind of open to a lot of different types of feels when it comes to guitars. That's pretty cool. And I think I'm kind of similar to what Bruce is saying in terms of my preference, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on here. Rico's in the house. Good morning. 27C in Arizona at 6 a.m. So it's going to be a hot one for you guys over there. It's okay, man. It's winter's coming here, and I'm gonna envy you in a couple of months, so it's all good. Good morning, Wayne. Nice to see you. And he says, a great question. Yeah, but I left out the width. And he says he loves the wide necks on his awesome 2015 Les Paul Jr. that is supposed to be the worst guitar ever. Not in my hands. I love it, he says. Why is that supposed to be the worst guitar ever? I'm curious. I've heard that as well. The 2015s were not supposed to be great in terms of Les Pauls. I don't know if all of them weren't supposed to be great during that year or just the juniors, but I'm curious to see why. I know it was like a transition year and there was a lot of things happening. So I'm curious. Good morning, Cohen. How are you, man? I haven't seen you before, so I guess you're probably new in the house. Thank you for joining us. Rico says his vote is NT, R, FS, and SL. So we have to decipher that. So neck thickness, radius, fret size, and string length in that order. And Cohen says same for me. So the thickness is the most important to you guys. That's interesting. I guess it's the most obvious aspect of the neck that strikes you right away. Really, like if you're holding a beefy neck. By the way, I'm just noodling around on my Harley Benton. This is the Telecaster style guitar with humbuckers. Nice guitar. Neck on this one is a medium neck. A little bit, how can I describe this neck, for example? This neck is not extremely thick. It's pretty much a C shape. Feels nice. The frets on this, I guess, are medium frets. And the width is, I would say, maybe just a hair wider than a standard Fender Strat. And I guess the radius on this is rather flat. I would say probably a 10. So that's what I have in my hands today. Now, a lot of you didn't really comment yet regarding the super thin size necks, right? Like the wizard necks. And I'm wondering how many of you prefer those type necks, the really flat, like, front to back, very flat and wide. Curious on that. Paul says the best way to start a week. The week is about to happen. Thank you, Paul. That's really nice of you, man. I appreciate that nice comment. Hi, Michael. San Antonio, Texas. The Alamo. Never been to Texas. I'd love to go one day. I hear it's great. Good morning, Vinay. Alan's in the house from the UK. How's it going, Alan? Fat Philosopher, good morning, buddy. But H in Boston, Shane and Tony are on the same time today. I hope winds up. I hope he winds it up so people can come here. It's okay, man. Shane can do his thing. Eventually, I hope we can actually get Shane either on my show or on myself on his show. We've already discussed that. It's just that we're both busy, and it's hard for the timelines to line up considering we're in different parts of the world. But maybe it will happen one day. It would be cool. I'd like to talk to Shane. He's a cool dude. Michael Scott. So Michael likes a thin style neck with fat frets, 12-inch radius. Lately it's funny because a lot of my Strat style guitars and my Strats were more vintagey style Strats, and they had more of a curved radius to them, 9.5 thing, something around those lines. And I played those for a long time, but recently I really have come to like the flatter necks, specifically, let's say an 11-inch radius. I like those necks a lot right now. I feel that I flip-flop. There's times where I don't mind playing the beefier necks, the more vintagey style guitars, and then other times I'll switch and my tastes will switch and I'll like the flatter radius necks as well. So I'm kind of like, I flip-flop. I'm not stuck on one thing, but I do like, for me, I think one of the more important aspects of a guitar is, I would say, the fretboard radius first, the neck thickness second, and then the fret size third. The width of the neck is pretty important to me. Actually, maybe I should put that first because if the width of the neck is too narrow, it makes it almost impossible to play. And if it's too wide, it just feels bulky and awkward in my hand. So I would say the width probably first, radius second, thickness third, and fret size third for me, I think. So Fat Philosopher says that the fret height is the least important, probably radius, scale length, and then thickness. The scale length is really important too. It's true because especially on certain guitars, I feel that the scale length affects the playability of the guitar a lot more on certain types of guitars. Like, for example, I once had a PRS US made guitar, a 22, custom 22, and I didn't like it, and I'm pretty sure I didn't like it because of the scale length on that guitar. It just the scale length was too long, and it felt weird in my hands. But then I got an SC245, which is a shorter scale length, and I love that guitar. Still a PRS. So I think the scale length does definitely affect the playability on certain guitars differently. That's one of my observations that I found. Who else is in the house here? So we have the Cal's in the house. Good morning, buddy. How are you? Hey, the Cal, are you related to Steve Vai? I'm just joking. Maybe you are. Maybe you're cousins or something. My mouth is extremely dry today. I had a really rough night last night. Couldn't fall asleep. I don't know what it was. It was just like I was tossing and turning all night, and I thought I would never fall asleep. So I'm working on fumes here, guys, so bear with me, all right? Hey, Al. Nice to see you, buddy. Michael Scott says, love the show. I look forward to this every Sunday. Thanks for doing the show. Hey, I appreciate that, Michael. I look forward to it too, man. I do. I really do. Some people, maybe just do it because they want to sort of, drum up viewers and all that kind of stuff, which is definitely an advantage. But for me, really, I look forward to chatting with you guys and sharing the same love of guitar and gear. I think it's a lot of fun. Plus, what else is there to do Sunday mornings, right? Alan says neck thickness for him, radius, then the frets, and the width as I have small hands. So, like, I'll give you a story about one of the guitars that I owned. That was a Music Man. I had a Music Man guitar, which was sort of like the Van Halen style guitar, when he was playing Music Man guitars. Beautiful guitar, really well made. Uh, Beautiful neck. The neck actually, the feel of the neck was wonderful on that guitar, but the width of the neck at the nut was too narrow for me, and I could never get used to it because it was just a little bit too narrow, and it's the same nut width as the Wolfgangs, and I had a Wolfgang too, and maybe it's an Eddie thing. Maybe Eddie prefers to have necks that are a little bit thinner here in terms of width for his hands, but I could never get used to playing those guitars, and eventually I had to sell them off. And it's a shame because they were both really nice guitars. So the width for me is super important. Fat Philosopher says he prefers 25.5 over the 24 and 3/4. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. My hands are not like huge, but I would say, my fingers are not the thinnest, but definitely wider, a little bit wider at the nut definitely helps. Rich says neck thickness, then radius. Yeah, neck thickness front to back is important for some people. Like I said, I flip flop. I prefer, like, I'll play, my PRS hollow, which is just there, is pretty beefy. And then I'll switch to another guitar and it'll be quite thin. I don't have any, at least currently, I don't have any guitars with a wizard neck, like an Ibanez wizard neck. I had an Ibanez Gem at one point. I had a reissue RG at another point. I had a few Ibanez guitars over the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, but they've never actually stuck around that long. I think right now the thinnest neck that I have on a guitar is probably the Jackson, and the Jackson guitar is not in my it's not in my stand right now, but you've probably seen it on my videos. The red Jackson guitar. That's probably the thinnest neck that I have of all my guitars currently in my lineup. I know, hey, the Gospel of Mark, what the hell? He puts working over, priority, gives working priority over the show. Whoa, what's going on? Should we forgive him? Alan says Fender necks are not good for me, like playing baseball bat. So I don't find the Fender necks that beefy, Alan. What Fenders are you playing? Just wondering. And what guitars are you playing? Because if you find that the Fender necks are beefy, then like what do you prefer? Like, are you going for the Wizard necks as we just mentioned, or what? James says, "Hey James, I like my guitar necks like my women, thin and smooth." I guess so. My next guitar will have a compound radius 12 to 16. Those are sweet. I like those compound radius necks also. Like on Charvel does that. And yeah, it definitely makes it a lot more playable in my opinion. It's a nice compromise to have there. Well, it's not really a compromise. It's a nice option to have. I think more guitar manufacturers should be doing that. Cohen says thin neck, then radius, neck width, fret size, then scale length. So for him, it's the scale length comes in last and the radius first. Like I'm not sure I would, if everything else was cool on a guitar, but the radius of the neck was, maybe a little bit more round. I'm not sure I'd give up the guitar. Like if I really liked everything else about it, I'm not sure I wouldn't buy the guitar because of that. But definitely the thickness at the nut, that would be a showstopper for me. Like the rest of the things, I could make a compromise and I could buy one anyways and sort of get used to it. But nut too thin here, sorry, no can do. Alan says, Fat Philosopher, we are the same. Ibanez, ESP, etc. are great necks. Um, it's funny because when I said earlier about the Music Man necks being too thin here at the nut, the new model that they just released, if you check that out, they specifically say that the neck is slightly wider at the nut. So maybe I'm not the only one complaining about that. Maybe they finally listened, and if that's the case, then that guitar should be very sweet because Music Man makes some super nice necks. I don't know if you've ever tried a Music Man neck, but what they do is they don't put poly or anything on the neck, on the back of the neck. They just give it, like this guitar has a poly finish. You can tell it's shiny, right? What they do is it's raw wood. They give it a little, like a tongue oil, a wipe with tongue oil. They wipe it off and then they apply wax. And that's it. And it's like wipe on, wipe off, no big production. And the necks feel great. I love that feel. Hey, cool tunes, made easy. Nice to see you too, buddy. Um, Fat Philosopher says totally. When you get used to a thin neck, it's hard to go back, and that's true when you're like playing different radiuses and stuff like that. I always feel that when you switch the guitar, initially within the first little while, it's like tough to get used to it, and then all of a sudden it just feels natural. It's like almost changing a speaker in your cabin. It sounds weird for the first, like 20 minutes, and then you forget what it sounded like before. You just get used to it. The Cal says Ibanez Wizard and Super Wizard 34 millimeters at the first fret and 17 millimeters thick at the first fret. RG 570 and RG 550 Genesis for me. So he likes the Wizard necks. So I guess he's a shredder. He really likes to shred and go up and down that neck till the frets warm up. Wayne McDonald says sorry, I can't speak. Robo tuners didn't help its reputation. I guess we're still going back to the comment on the Gibsons, 2015 Gibsons. Yeah, the Robo tuners were a disaster, and they just tried to cram it down everyone's throat. That's, I think, the big bad taste in everyone's mouth. No pun intended. Like, if you come up with an idea, it's fine to offer it to your customers, but when you try and cram it down their necks by putting it on all the guitars, that's not gonna fly. I guess they learned their lesson from that one, hopefully. Paul says, I have every scale and shredder thin necks to my H88, better known for decades as the baseball bat. I prefer 24 and 3/4 necks, but I'll play anything. Yeah, I'm not gonna, I won't. I like to have variety. That's the thing, right? So it's like if you have a bunch of guitars and they're all pretty much the same, what's the point, right? I like to have different necks, different radiuses and fretboards and different styles. I think it spices things up. Fat Philosopher says I would have to say radius. Love the 16-inch radius on my V. So that's like pretty flat. I like that. I like 16-inch radiuses on Charvels. 24 and 3/4 are cumbersome past the 15 fret. Alan says the Ibanez Wizard necks are great. They suit his small hands. And Fat Philosopher says Wizards all the way. Definitely the Wizards are like you have to. It's an acquired taste. You got to get used to them. I guess there's some people that will never get used to that, especially if you got a bunch of guitars and you're switching from, let's say, a Les Paul, and then you're switching right away to a Wizard neck, like if in a gig or something like that. It's kind of like a shock because now you're going from this thickness to this thickness, and that's a huge difference. So I don't know if you're depending on what kind of guitars you're playing, but then again, maybe if you like the Wizard neck so much, you won't have that many Les Paul style guitars in your collection. So that could be something. Cohen says, but I guess some combos of these parameters go hand in hand, like a vintage radius on my 50s style Strat with thin frets and a narrow neck. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the vintage formula, right? So most of the time you're going to be looking at, all the vintage guitars, or a big majority of the vintage guitars will have those appointments. So it's sort of like it comes with the territory if you're looking at buying one of those guitars. Yet a lot of people will they'll modify, they'll bring the neck in and have the frets removed and put in like wide frets or higher frets, something like that, just to make it more playable, or even just give the neck. They'll have the neck sanded down to a new radius. If they really like the guitar but they can't get used to the radius on the neck board. It's all doable. I don't know if I'd spend that kind of money on it, but Al says perfect neck for me is flat and wide, low frets. Yep. Yum. Great topic today. Thanks for suggesting it, you guys. I mostly find that about 5 to 10 minutes after switching guitars, I completely adjust to my differences. Could be because I switch often. If you play 90% on one guitar, it would likely matter more. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said earlier. I fall into that category. It's you have to get that adjustment under your fingers. It takes a couple of minutes, but then it's like plays like butter, like all the other ones. And I also find that giving yourself the opportunity to play a lot of guitars also sort of trains your brain into not being stuck so much on some features. Like if you're switching guitars often, then you'll get used to playing the smaller radiuses and the wider necks, and it won't be so much of a shock. Whereas as you said it, if you're playing a guitar and all of your guitars are the same and you switch, you're kind of lost there for a while. So we'll come back to this topic. I wanted to also mention something because this week, for those of you that are blues guitar fans, it was actually brought to my attention. A good friend of mine posted this on his Facebook page, and it caught me off guard because believe it or not, it's 30 years this week since Stevie Ray Vaughan passed away. And I couldn't believe that it's 30 years already. Like I remember that day as if it was yesterday when I heard the news that he passed away in a helicopter crash, and I was flabbergasted. I'm like, how could it be? Like he was such a huge influence on me in terms of his playing style, and at that time, back in the 80s, he came out of left field. Like in the 80s, I remember listening to Van Halen and a lot of big hair rock bands and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, here comes Stevie Ray Vaughan out of left field playing the blues. And in the 80s there wasn't that much happening in terms of blues. So he kind of single-handedly, I think, revived that aspect of music back in the 1980s. And for me, when I heard for the first time songs like Cold Shot or Voodoo Child or Scuttlebutting or all these great songs that he had on the radio at the time, it blew my socks off. And I remember like listening to Voodoo Child, and although I had heard the Hendrix version of that song, many, many years prior to that, it's almost like, to me, it was like, Hendrix invented it, but Stevie perfected it. And it was like just crazy watching him play. And I remember like going to a concert, and what's funny is a friend of mine, I went to the concert with him, and I think I was 17 at the time. This was many, many years ago. It was July 22nd, I believe, 1987. And my friend sent me a cool thing I want to share with you guys. Take a look at this. So this is the actual ticket stub over here on the right, and the actual ad for that event, which happened way back in 87. And it happened at an amusement park here in Montreal. And the funny thing is, if you look at the price of the ticket, the price for the show was $15, but it's funny because if you read at the bottom, it says, with all reserved seats, you get free unlimited access to all the rides and to other shows at La Ronde. So basically, I got to see Stevie Ray Vaughan that day and go on all the rides for free, and it was a spectacular show. I mean, I still remember that show, and it's probably one of my favorite shows that I've ever been to, because the moon and the stars were aligned that day, and it was like the weather was perfect. Had a beautiful time during the day. The show was phenomenal. I'll never forget. Like, I think at that time Stevie was like pretty solid in terms of how he was playing. And as a matter of fact, I have something else I want to share with you guys as well. Take a look at this. This is a clip of that particular event, that particular show. And it's funny because it says that one of the paragraphs here says, on this night he seemed to have more than the usual blues heartbreaking message to convey, something about loving one's neighbor that may have been lost on most of the crowd, but came through in charged playing. Vaughan's work during the blistering version of Texas Flood that survived two wounded guitars was as soulful and astounding as any ever witnessed here. And I could definitely tell you that the way he was playing that evening, I mean, he played behind his back, he played with his teeth, he strummed the guitar with his feet. Like, he put the guitar down and he took a jump and he just strummed the last chord with his cowboy boots on. And as a 17-year-old young fellow trying to learn guitar, it was like I was watching in stunned amazement, and it was fantastic. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because it's been 30 years. And I'm like, wow, where has the time gone? And I also had a really cool picture I wanted to share with you guys also. This is on my wall right here beside me in my studio. This is a hand-drawn pencil sketch of Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I really love this drawing so much that I actually got it laminated to put on my wall, and I just keep it there. And it just, I still, every time I look at the picture, I can't help but remember the passion in his playing. Really something else. So hopefully someone else with that passion will come by and inject a little bit of life in the guitar because lately, the guitar hasn't really been at the forefront of things in terms of music. And I think we can use another hero. Every, 10, 20 years, another superstar comes along and gives us something that we haven't seen before. And, Eddie did that. Hendrix did that. Stevie Ray Vaughan did that. A few other guitarists did that. And awesome, awesome stuff. So if you're a fan, just say a little prayer for Stevie. So let's get back to some of the questions here, and just gonna jump ahead a little bit here. So if I skip your comment, I'll come back to it in a little bit. Jack Collins from Louisiana here says, trying to survive this hurricane, 4 days without power. Holy crap. Jack, are you okay, man? What's going on over there? Is it dying down at least a little bit? Are you safe? Are you still at home? Where are you? What's going on? That would scare the chicklets out of me, man. Sorry to hear that, brother. I hope everybody's okay there. Says Jack says we're safe. Our house is a toy up. Is toy up a little bit. I guess he means torn up a little bit. But none of my guitars got damaged, thank God. Phew, Jack, scaring me, man. Dude, I hope it works out for you and everything's okay. Hopefully this thing will blow over soon. When these things happen, it just makes you think how lucky we are. The others that are not affected by these things. I mean, we're getting hammered this year between COVID and what's happening with all these shootings and the now the terrible weather that we're getting hammered with in different parts of the world. I mean, holy mackerel, what a year! Paul says, I laugh when guys use an Ibanez neck as a measuring stick of a thin neck. I have a reissue Ibanez Jet King, which is Ibanez's first guitar, which is really a Gaiatone LG 130T chunky neck. Well, my first guitar ever was an Ibanez Roadstar 2. I don't know if you remember those, Paul. But they were basically sort of Ibanez's, I wouldn't say copy, but Ibanez's take on the Strat. And they were pretty standard in terms of the necks. They were pretty much Strat thickness, Strat width. I don't think they had introduced Wizard necks back then yet. They were just getting into it. So, for me, they've gone to the point where, now if you don't really like the thin necks, you're kind of stuck. But the new versions of the Ibanez guitars are getting thicker. Like the one I tried recently, the brand new versions surprised me because the neck was actually pretty round. Not Wizard-like at all. So I like that. Rich says S series come with both. Most newer ones come with a Wizard 3. Older Ibanez tend to have the Wizard 2 necks, which are slightly thicker. Yeah, I've seen those. I've tried those myself, so that's cool. Hey Sean, nice to see you, buddy. I was up late last night, so I caught the show. Fat Philosopher says, I got to see Gowan at an amusement park for free. My first ever rock concert. Yeah, Gowan, man. He's from Montreal. What the hell happened to that guy? Criminal Mind and all that. He was an interesting character. Alan says, I wish I had not sold my SRV signature Strat. They are now double what I paid for. I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, I think something's happening with the Strats because I recently took a look. I was just curious. I have a road worn Strat and a road worn Telecaster, and I thought it'd be cool maybe to put together another road worn project. And I figured I'd see if I can find a road worn body, either a Telecaster or a Strat, on eBay. And holy mackerel, the price for these road worn guitars are super, super expensive now. I don't know what the hell's going on with those. Maybe I lost track. I had they're like 20, almost 2,000, over 2,000 bucks. Could that be? What the hell? I mean, when I bought my road worn Strat, brand new, they were like 960, and now they went through the roof. So I don't know. Something's happening there. I'm glad I grabbed them when I did, however, because I wouldn't want to pay that kind of money right now. And actually, I saw something pretty funny. I'm going to share it with you guys. Check this out, guys. Check this out. So the joke says, what's the difference between these? We have the standard, the road worn, and the one that got scratched during shipping. So you have the standard at 600, the road worn at like 5,000 bucks, and then you have the one that got scratched during shipping for 350. I thought that was pretty funny. It says a lot. Pedal room. Hey man, how's it going? Nice to see you, buddy. You're up early too. So one other thing I wanted to say, couple of things actually. I picked up one of these things. I don't know if you guys remember, but I mentioned I was going to pick up one of these things. This is a Tube Screamer, Demon Tube Screamer, and you'll see at the very bottom here the squinty print. It says Overdrive, and it's basically TS808, TS9. And it has a little switch here at the top that allow you to switch between both. This guy cost me 25 bucks or something on eBay, and I love it. It's actually a great sounding Tube Screamer. Sounds fantastic. I can't complain for 25 bucks. Honestly, I had a Tube Screamer, an original one, modded, and I don't think it sounds better than this one. Pretty much the same to me. I opened it up. I wanted to take a look to see whether or not I can spot the chips inside, because maybe it's not true, but you can't see the chips because it's on the underside of the board, and I don't want to pull the board out. I can do it. I can take out the knobs and everything and eventually take a peek under there. I probably will when I do the review, but sounds great. The case is just as solid as what I have on my Wamplers. Can't complain about that. And what I like about these type of cases also is the fact that they don't have a little plastic compartment in the back. So when you put your Velcro, it rips off the battery compartment, and that becomes a real pain. So I like the fact that they're like screwed in, kind of like MXR does with their pedals, and it doesn't come apart when you try and peel off the pedal from your pedal board, because I like to put the 3M Velcro on my pedal board. And that stuff, man, if you ever use that 3M stuff, the what do they call it, Duralock, stuff doesn't come off your pedal board. You'll rip off the back of your pedal before you actually loosen up that the grip on it, Um, go back to some questions here. Fat Philosopher says, what EQ pedal are you using? I'm using the cheapest one I could get my hands on, which is a Donner EQ pedal. It's basically a copy of the MXR, the 5-band EQ pedal. And I bought that one just temporarily. I was eventually going to get myself something else, but I haven't killed it yet. And I like it because it's got the little lights on the sliders. So when you're playing, you can see where you're at with the EQ curve. And honestly, it's not noisy, it works well, and it's cheap. So I didn't change it. Eventually, I probably will, but it works well. I like it. What are the comments here? Just joined the call. Thanks for the Fusion 2 reviews. Looking to purchase when they are back in stock. Well, you know what? I mean, I've been waiting for them to come back in stock too because I want to order another guitar from them. I've actually started looking at possibly getting like a Les Paul Junior style guitar, but I wouldn't buy a Gibson because they're just too expensive. So I looked at a couple of other options for that, and I looked at the Godin Summit. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I like the Godin guitars. They're well-made guitars. They're also local to Quebec, so why not support a local business? They're about $900, however, for their one P90 model, which is the Godin Summit. See if I can find it for you guys so we can take a look at it here. Give me 1 second. See if I can pull it up. And just want to show you what it looks like with the P90s. It's about 900 bucks. They have different ones. They have versions that are like a gold top version, which is like more of a Les Paul style. But the one I was looking at was actually looked more like a junior. So here, I'll pull it up on Reverb. You'll see what I'm talking about here. Actually, this is not the P90 version that I'm looking at here. This is the P90 version. I don't understand why Reverb is always so much more expensive, but it is. So here, let me switch it over so you can see that. All right. So I don't know if you can see that there. So this is it. It's the Burst Pro, the Burst Vintage Burst P90. They're selling it at $1,200, but you can get these for about $900. And it's a nice looking guitar. The shape is a little bit different than a Telecaster shape. It's not really, it's between I would say between a Telecaster, Stratocaster, and a Junior. So I kind of started to look for that, but then, you know what? After looking around a little more, I saw that Harley Benton have, Harley Benton, they call that the single cut junior for like 170 bucks, 170 pounds or something like that. So it's a couple $100. And I don't want to spend 900 bucks on another guitar. So I think I'm going to try the Harley Benton one first and see how that flies. And I'm sure it'd be good enough. I'm sure I'd like it and it'll scratch that itch. And if not, then I can look at a more expensive option. But yeah, the prices on Reverb are just weird. I don't understand why everything's so expensive. So, but I think they're out of stock as well. They're still out of stock. So I'm waiting for those to come back into stock as well, so I can place an order. Joe says, I just bought the Harley Benton version. It should arrive tomorrow. Joe, which version? Are you talking about the one I'm talking about, the single cut, the junior, or something else? Just going back to some of the comments here. I think I skipped over a whole bunch. Jimmy says, I just bought a Gem Junior on Reverb. Are there any upgrades you recommend, or do you think I'm pretty set for a while? I had the Gem Junior for a while, and it's a good guitar. I mean, it's hard to upgrade that guitar because the upgrades would be very expensive, probably, most of the price of the guitar. The thing that you can upgrade that would make the biggest difference, two things, pickups and bridge. But if you put in a bridge, like one of their high-end bridges, those things are expensive. You're probably going to spend almost $300 on that bridge. So yes, it would make a huge difference, and you will like your guitar a whole lot more, including the pickups. You could probably put in some Evolution pickups if you want it to be like the original. The rest of the guitar is okay. I don't have any issues with the rest of the guitar, but those are the upgrades I would make if I had like an unlimited budget. I don't know if it's worthwhile, however. What else we have going on over here? Cool Tunes Made Easy. I stumbled across a guy reviewing a pickup swap on PRS SE swapped with something called Von Show. Seems a nice improvement. Have heard of those pickups. I've heard of those pickups. Von is a guy that has been making videos for Guitar Warehouse speakers for a while. Funny character, always wears a hat and stuff. And yeah, he was doing reviews of speakers for WGS, which make great repro speakers, by the way. I have some in my cabinets. And I guess he decided, or probably got his hands on a manufacturer for pickups and decided he'd make his own. I haven't tried them. I don't know if they're any good, but the guy does review a lot of stuff. So who knows? Maybe they are good. Maybe I should reach out to him and see if they're willing to have a set shipped over for a review. I don't know. I have to see what I can do. What else here we got going on? Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to say. So regarding the neck and the questions of the day, what you prefer, there's also something else that I wanted to mention that come into effect specifically for guys that own Les Paul style guitars. Some of you might have tried this already. So there's top wrapping the strings as opposed to having the strings go in the tailpiece. So do I have a Gibson here? Let me grab another guitar. 1 second. I'll show you what I mean. One other thing that affects the playability also is wrapping the strings at the tailpiece here. Right now, most of us, including myself on this particular model, have the strings going in through the normal route, which is through the front of the tailpiece and then coming out the other side, right? But a lot of times when you do that, okay, you tend to have the break angle a little bit less steep. So I don't know if it's heavy, so I just want to show you what I mean. So the break angle is this, right? It's how steep the angle is from the bridge to the tailpiece. And so a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll crank the tailpiece all the way down, slam it against the body. And as you can see, mine's actually pretty high. So I keep it high because I don't like to have a break angle here that is too steep, because that causes tuning issues. Things tend to snag up when you do that. So if you like to have your bridge or your tailpiece slammed down on the body, what a lot of people will do is they'll reverse wrap the string. So the wrap will come through, they'll put the strings in the front and wrap it over the tailpiece. And what that does is it keeps the angle, the break angle of the string, and makes it less pronounced, right? And a little bit softer. And it definitely makes it easier to play. I noticed that a lot. So if some of you have trouble with the Gibson and the scale length of the Gibson. Check the break angle there and try putting the strings on the top. And it definitely makes a difference in the feel of the guitar. So, but again, this is a Les Paul standard, and I've had the nut changed on this one, and I still have tuning issues, and it's always the G string, and it's because of the break angle here as well. The string just going off to one side instead of sliding right, like straight up on the nut. That'll always do it. So you have to like lubricate it. You have to make sure it's cut properly and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more finicky as a guitar, but try that and tell me what you guys think of it. At least the ones of you out there that own Gibson guitars. All right, let me catch up on the comments here. A few more went by. The Reverb is overpriced. 98% of their gear it's becoming a joke. I think people overprice their stuff on Reverb because eventually what they do is they drop their price by 10% and they're listed as like at the top of the page again so that they get more traction and views. So they pump it up, then drop the price. So I haven't, just full disclosure, I've never purchased anything off Reverb. I haven't found a deal yet. Thanks, Padded Pedal Room. Thanks for the asking people to give me a thumbs up. That's cool. Appreciate that. I own a Harley Benton Double Cut Junior. Love it. The P90 screams. That's what I want to get. So, Bud, for the price that they're selling those guitars, it's a steal. So I'm going to grab one before the prices go up. I'm just waiting for them to offer more colors. Because right now they're offering black, which is, I don't want another black guitar. Silver, sparkle, which is not for me. And that funny yellow, which is supposed to be TV yellow, but it isn't. I'm hoping that they're going to launch a version of that guitar, which is going to be just red, flat red. Like they have that color for the double cuts. And I really like it. Satiny, just red. And I grabbed that one in a heartbeat. So I want to see if they're going to be coming out with anything new this year. You need to be a master of the lowball offers on Reverb. Yeah, you have to be pretty patient. By the way, Fat Philosopher, I caught your video on your new guitar. And that was an interesting video. I liked it a lot. And it looked like a pretty nice guitar for the amount of money you paid. So that's pretty cool. So you didn't mention you had a new guitar day. So let's hear it from anyone in the group that had a new guitar day this week. If you did, list it. I want to hear what you guys got. So I know Fat Philosopher got something there. So what about the rest of you? Joe says, I already have a double cut with P90s. It's a Gordon Smith from England. Sweet guitar. I would love to have a P90 Gibson style guitar. So it's like a Les Paul with P90s. I think that would be cool. Like I have the Harley Benton with P90s, but something like a Black Beauty with P90s in there. I think that would look cool. It's more a look thing than anything else. Fat Philosopher says, what do you consider to be the best way to learn guitar music theory? Is the Samurai Guitarist course any good? I haven't tried Samurai Guitarist. There's a whole bunch of people offering courses online. I spoke about this in another video. And honestly, I've tried a couple of them more for the theory aspect of it. And they all kind of fall short. It's hard because they're all segmented. There's different people giving courses and there's a lot of overlap and they don't go that deep. So it's really hard to find somebody that that can give you a good basis on theory. Have you tried the Rick Beato book? Rick has a book that he sells on his YouTube channel and it's like 600 pages and stuff. The guy's a genius when it comes to theory. He knows his stuff inside out. So I don't know how good his book is, but if you're able to, if you don't mind reading and teaching yourself, That might be an interesting way to learn theory. It also depends on how much theory you already know. If you're starting from zero, or if you already have the basic theory under your belt. But I would go with that. There's some great books um, available also for theory. It's just like it's hard. It's almost like reading math. You know, you have to, it gets boring after a while. I think it's easier when somebody's showing it to you as opposed to you just reading it through a book, you know? Nice Les Paul. Thanks, man. Rich says, I still have the stock Japanese made pickups in it. They are V1, V2, and S1. They sound great. I also have the same pickups in a made in Japan RG that I have. So you're set for the pickups then. So there's no need to change the pickups. I think once you have a good set of pickups, you're on your way. That's already a big part of the battle. Can you hear my dog snoring? It's like she snores even louder every time. Here, I'm gonna make you hear this. Take a listen to this, guys. Hold on a second. Oh, she heard me. She stopped. Anyways, she's under my desk. She's snoring like mad. She's having a good dream. Currently have the Harley Benton CST24T. Love it, but will need to do some fret leveling, and it was $65 to ship to Illinois in the US. Yeah, the shipping, the duties is always going to be a surprise, and you never know how they're going to calculate the duties. It's always weird. You think you have a grasp on it, and then you get a surprise, and it's totally off the wall. I called customs once when I got a guitar, and I asked them to explain to me how they came up with that number, and they weren't able to explain it to me. So I think they're just pulling these numbers out of their ass. It's one of those things. So one other thing I wanted to mention, beyond the Tube Screamer pedal, which I'm going to probably review maybe sometime this week, I actually got a little surprise in the mail that I'm going to do a review on as well. And you guys might already know this brand, FU Tone. If you don't know them, check them out. FU Tone, they make a whole bunch of upgrades for guitars. So all kinds of little tweaks that you can use to make your guitar sound better. So I got one of these blocks. This is a brass block. Pretty cool looking. You can see it's got FU Tone at the bottom here. Pretty heavy block actually. And I want to do an experiment. So I bought this block and I'm gonna put it into one of my Squier contemporary Strats, because those guitars, they're great overall guitars, but they don't have a good block on them. And one thing I noticed is that for some reason, those guitars, they always, when you play them unplugged, they have this weird hollow sound to them. And you don't really hear it when you're playing it plugged in, so it's not a big deal. But unplugged, you hear this kind of hollow sound. It's weird. So I'm thinking it has something to do with the bridge and probably the block. So as an experiment, I have two of those Squiers, by the way, so it actually comes in handy. So I'm gonna change the block on one of them, and then I'm gonna play them side by side and see if that noise goes away. If it does, I'm gonna be getting another one of these and putting it into my other guitar, because overall they're great guitars except for that. So it's like a little experiment I want to try, and I thought I'd make a video of that and show you guys as well if you're interested in knowing whether or not it actually works or not. If you haven't tried out the FU Tone stuff, they have a whole bunch of stuff, including like string saddles. They have nuts for like locking nuts. If you're into locking nuts or Floyd Rose systems, they have like certain parts of the Floyd Rose tremolo system that are like made of titanium, and Apparently, there's some magic that happens when you upgrade these parts, apparently, and gives you better sustain and better tone. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to try, take one for the team and try to do the experiment. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming up probably this week. What else we got here? Yeah, the Spring Butler. I know of that product. I saw it. It's just really ugly, man. I have to be honest. I'm sure it works because the big issue with the Gibson nuts are really the angle of the strings as they come out of the nut. That's the big issue. And I'm sure the string butler, for those that don't know, it's a little thing that you put on the headstock of your guitar, and it keeps the strings straight. But it just looks weird, man. It just looks weird. Hey, Jason. Jason says, I have those FU Tone brass blocks for all my Strats and PRS guitars. I believe it makes a difference. Good products at FU Tone. Great, thanks. Thanks for telling me that, Jason. I'm going to see for myself in a couple of days. So that should be an interesting experiment. I think it'll be cool. Evan says, is Fender Stratocaster HSS ideal for metal playing? Ideal. Well, I don't know if it's ideal, but you can definitely play metal on it. It depends on what type of metal. Are you playing, gent? What are you playing? Are you playing like super heavy duty death metal or something? If you are, maybe it's not the ideal guitar, but it can do it, depending on the type of pickup you have in there, especially the humbucker. Hey, Henry, how's it going in Pris? I wonder if he meant Paris. Jason says, FU Tone also has the silent springs, which are expensive but cool. Yeah, I know. I saw those. And if you're looking to silence your noisy springs, I did a video on that, guys. Just check back a couple of videos back. You'll see it. You can do it very easily without having to spend a lot of money also. Philosopher says, it is good. It may have the best tremolo for metal, but if you're a beginner, best to stay away from the tremolo. Oh, I missed something interesting there. I'll catch up to your comments. Alan says, the brass block will improve any Squire. I fitted one to my vibe, and it's a big improvement in sustain. The sustain is going to be a good improvement. I wonder if it makes it brighter also. I'm curious about that. Tom says, about the G string, I put a new string on the tuner and wrap from the bottom up from the peg so that the string is at the top of the peg, then to the nut. This helps. Love the channel. Thanks, Tom. That's a great tip. Wraps from the bottom up. So you're basically keeping the string low down, close to the front of the headstock, right? That's what you're saying. Top of the peg. So the opposite of what I just said. So you're saying that you'll wrap it so that, so if I understand correctly, let me understand this and see what you mean. So normally when you wrap a string, like for example here, I don't know if I can show you. So all of my strings are, can I get that in the area? All of my strings are basically wrapping, and they're going towards the bottom. So you're saying you wrap them in the opposite direction so that the string is actually higher. So then you're reducing the break angle at the nut, is what you're saying. That's interesting. I haven't tried that. I gotta try that. I haven't tried that at all. That could be really cool. See, we're getting great tips here all the time, guys. That's why I love these Sunday chats. Bruce says Butler may be ugly, but remember the song. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. By the way, my wife is pretty. Good advice, man. James says the Beato book is great, very comprehensive. Best 45 bucks I spent. So James, is it easy to follow? That's the main question. I think a lot of people that are kind of dabbling or dipping their toe into the theory pool, it might be too advanced. So I'm just wondering how advanced, how hard is it that book to follow? Because I'm interested in picking it up too, and also helping Rick. Rick's a great guy, by the way, from what I can tell. So his brain is full of very useful information. So if we can get that in a book, that would be fantastic. It's hard to get a good book at a music store that covers everything. It's really hard. So yeah, give me some feedback on that. I might pick one up as well. Fat Philosopher says, my wife was pretty when I married her, then kids happened. Oh man, be careful what you say, dude. John 5 is cool, man. He's a great guitarist. Every time I've seen him, he has the chops. He's not like a poser. You got to get over the look, the goth look there. But if you yeah, and he likes to play a lot of different styles as well. Everything from country to metal to classic rock to so yeah, definitely has the chops. So Randy says steel blocks for brightness, ringiness, and brass for sustain and warmth. All right, cool. Fair enough. I'll pay attention to that once I put it in. Evan says I'm still not satisfied. Exactly, Bruce. Exactly. If she's watching, you're done for, man. Fat Philosopher's gonna be in the doghouse. That's what I mean, Fat Philosopher. Like when he goes into theory on his videos, he goes into so much so quickly it's overload, right? But maybe his book breaks it down into smaller chunks. If that's the case, I might grab one. Michael Scott. Hey, Michael, how's it going, buddy? Tony, I apologize for asking. Never apologize, dude. That's what we're here for. But what is the brand of the 12 string behind you? I know you showed it a couple of weeks ago, but I can't remember. Sorry. Yeah, that's this guy, that guy. That's the Van Goya. It's called Van Goya. It's something I purchased on Amazon. They make a bunch of stuff, and I reviewed the guitar. It's in my previous videos. There's the link in the videos to where you can get the guitar on Amazon. I don't know if they're sold out or not, but solid guitars for what you pay. Pix Gaming says thoughts on Harley Benton. That always comes up every now and then. I like Harley Benton guitars. A lot of people claim that they ship out B stock guitars. Sometimes they end up getting stuff that is blemished or something like that. I'm sure that can happen. I know that the stuff doesn't come from them, at least not all of it. Some of the stuff comes directly from their suppliers. So you might get something that has been set up. You might not, depending on where it's coming from. I have three Harley Benton guitars right now. I have the Fusion, which is back there. Fusion guitar over there. the Telecaster style with the humbuckers I was just holding earlier, and the P90 one. And this one here. The P91 also. I wasn't intending on getting a gold top, but I wanted a Les Paul style guitar with P90s, and here it is. Not too expensive. I did a fret leveling on it because I always do that, and I ended up changing the pickups. Not because the other pickups were bad, they were actually not bad at all. When I did the review and I asked you guys to tell me which ones you preferred, a lot of you preferred the stock Harley Benton pickups. So, for what it's worth, for a couple of $100, it's a great guitar. It's a little heavy. It's not the lightest guitar, um, but it's a Les Paul, so it's not the heaviest guitar I have, but it is a little bit on the heavy side. The other guitars, the fusion guitars, are not as heavy. So I would say Harley Benton are great if you're looking at buying a guitar and you don't want to spend too much money and you don't want to go with the big names. I like them. I think they're solid guitars. I don't have any issues. And guys, just so you know, I'm a little phenom when it comes to pickups. So don't assume that you have to change the pickups because just because I do that doesn't mean you have to do it. The stock pickups are good. They're not bad pickups, but I like to change the pickups. I like to try different things. So this is the Fusion. Nice guitar. It's kind of, they're copying or they're trying to mimic what you're getting with the Sir Pete Thorne model, which is a great looking guitar. But the guitar plays wonderful. Great sustain, nice sound. Bridge works well. The pickups you can split them. I don't usually split the pickups, but you can. You have the nice carved neck here, the heel, and the locking tuners. You got locking tuners on that, bone nuts, and stainless steel frets. What else can you ask for? I mean, for this kind of money, you're not going to get another guitar with these appointments at that price. If you can find one, let me know, because it plays great, and the neck is I don't know. I don't have anything negative to say about the guitars that I've tried. There might be other guitars out there that are not as good, maybe other models, like maybe the single cut junior that I would like to buy. Maybe that won't be as good. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but these ones, I like them. I haven't sold them. that says a lot. What other questions can I answer? You guys have any other questions for me? I mean, I'm open to any kind of questions. Thoughts on Harley? John 5 owns a Telecaster from every single year they were produced. That must be an awesome collection. Jack Collins says he loves his Harley Benton. Great guitars. Paul says wrapping the strings above the hole in the tuners will kill the sustain because you have less downward pressure on the nut. Probably. I mean, that in theory makes sense. So I guess it's like you're just moving the problem, right? So it's a flaw in the design, basically, in the headstock design that Gibson came out with way back when and has stuck with. So Tony has done many HB reviews. Yeah, you can take a look. Take a look in my previous videos. You'll see them. Jack says I have a Harley Benton CS24 Deluxe Emerald Green. It's fantastic. I ain't even changed the pickups yet. You don't have to, man. I think the Wilkinson pickups are pretty good. Pix Gaming says that looks gorgeous. How does she play? Like I said, man, no issues with the playability. Fat Philosopher says Harley Benton doesn't let the wood dry out enough, so they are heavy. Again, a lot of people say that, and it could be true, but it depends on which one you're talking about. These ones are not heavy. This one in the Telecaster is not heavy. The Gibson style one is, but it's also a thicker neck, thicker body. But it could be, you could be right. Joe McCarty says my Gold Top P90 guitar is an Eastman and I love it. They make great guitars. Famer7, what is your most expensive guitar? I would say my Sir Standard Pro and my PRS SC 245. Those are probably the two most expensive that I own right now. This one, the funny thing is, the Sir, this one has gone up in price tremendously. This one. So this one, if you try and buy this right now, you're probably looking at I don't know, $3,500, something like that. Way a lot of money for a Strat. Would I buy it for that price today? No, I didn't pay that price either. I traded something for this guitar. I didn't pay this anything. I actually traded an amp for this guitar. And that amp cost me about $900. So I'm into this guitar for about $900. But the price, this was a brand new guitar. I have the invoice on it. The fellow who bought it at the time paid almost $3,000 for it with taxes, and the prices have just been going up since then. So, and they're getting harder to find. So locally, they're very hard to find. You don't see these very often. There's no local dealers right now here, so you have to order it directly from the company, and yeah, pretty expensive. So although it's a great guitar, I have nothing negative to say about this guitar. It's just a lot of money. Bruce says, are we allowed to post links in the chat? I was thinking of doing a video of my gear collection and posting the link one Sunday. Maybe we can do something like that. It could be interesting. I don't know if you could post links. I'm not really sure. I didn't try that. Rich says Tony should have his own pickup company. You know what? I haven't. I've actually considered winding my own pickups because I was spending a lot of money ordering pickups, and winding my own would probably end up scratching that itch. But it's just not cost effective if you're only winding a couple. The costs in getting the actual enamel wire and the winder and all the parts and components and learning the secret recipe, you got to do that through trial and error. And unless you're winding a lot of pickups, it's not really worth it if you're just doing it for yourself. If you're trying to sell the pickups, that's a different story. But I prefer just to buy them off the shelf because I know what I like and I know more or less where to get them right now. So there's not that much trial and error anymore when I order pickups. I got to show you something funny, guys, before I forget. Let me show you this. I thought this was a hoot. Check this out. Can you see that? So this is a really cool idea that someone came up with, which is basically, it's basically for those of you who don't like the shape of the headstocks on the Epiphones, you can now get a solution. So somebody basically carved the top off of um, a Les Paul style guitar and made it so it fits perfectly on an Epiphone headstock. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know how these people come up with this stuff, but I thought that was pretty smart. You know, if somebody's coming up with these things, it means I'm not the only one who thinks that those Epiphone headstocks are not the prettiest things out there. Henry says, do these quite cheap Epiphones or Harley Benton Les Paul guitars still sound good in say 10 years? I don't see why they wouldn't, Henry. I mean, you know, it's not like they deteriorate. If you have a good guitar and it sounds good from day one, it probably will continue to sound good if you take care of it. So I would say, yeah, I would say you won't lose your money on a Harley Benton guitar unless you try to sell it, because at the price point that they're at, you can't really sell them for all that much money. You know what I mean? That's why you don't really see them on the used market all that much, because at the end of the day, if the guitar that you bought was worth 300 or 400 bucks, you're gonna have to sell it for like half of that by the time you do. So most people will just hang on to it. I wonder how Kiesel's lawsuit against Harley Benton Headless is going. I don't know. I didn't know there was a lawsuit. How do you sue somebody over something that's not there? Jason says, I have a Harley Benton SC 550 with Wiggins Texas style pickups, Craft Tech locking tuners, and Emerson Bumblebee 50 style electronics with some mods. Harley Bentons are a great value guitar. I've said it in my video too. I think, yeah, if you're somebody that loves to mod guitars, they're a great platform for that. Especially the Fusion guitars, because they have all of the appointments that you would want. So you don't have to upgrade the tuners. You don't have to upgrade the nut or the frets. The fretboard is nice. The neck is nice. And the body is well made. So all you really have to change is the pickups and maybe the electronics if you don't like them. But, you know, it'll save you a bunch of money starting with that, as opposed to trying to get parts and build it from scratch. You're always going to pay more when you do that. James says, it's laid out very well. For reference, it is invaluable. The theory you can follow at your own pace. Having it on a download is right there on your screen. So this is, we're talking about Rick Beato's theory book. So that's cool. I'm glad you can fill me in on that. I appreciate that, James. Thanks, man. I'll look into it. Fat Philosopher says, how many of your guitars have locking tuners? There's not that many. Locking tuners in this, to me, is a little bit of a scam. I'll tell you why. Because people buy locking tuners thinking that it's going to make the tunability of their guitar better, but it's actually not true. Locking tuners are great if you want to change strings quickly. So you don't have to wrap them around the post. You just slip them through, close them, and snip, right? The disadvantage with locking tuners, however, is that if you want to work on your guitar and you want to remove the strings for whatever reason, say you want to upgrade your pickups, change them or whatever, you basically have to throw those strings away. It's very hard to reuse the strings. Whereas if you have regular tuners, you can just unwrap them and then wrap them back in again, and you can get away with doing that. With the locking tuners, you can't really do that, and you know, once you break a string, like, it's just holding on by a little bit of string, right? And you still have tuning issues. That doesn't really go away. So I have locking tuners on this guitar, on my Sir, I have locking tuners on, I think, two of my Telecasters and one of my Stratocasters. But beyond that, the other guitars don't have any locking tuners. I like the locking tuners because they also add mass to the headstock. And I feel that helps with the sustain a little bit. But as far as tunability, I don't know. I don't see a big advantage. I heard the 6-in-line Fender necks are better when they are flipped over because it's easier to bend the high E string. Really? I never thought of that. Interesting. Alan says Harley Benton are great if you get one without cosmetic issues, but Toman rely on the customer to do the quality control. This puts me off of them. I agree. If you have to have issues and you risk getting a lemon and then you have to ship it back and pay duties and shipping, that is a hassle. I've been lucky that it hasn't happened to me yet. So if it does happen, yeah, I might reconsider it. um, got 3 Harley Bentons SC Custom Vintage Black, HB35, and a TE30. I love them all. I did a lot of mods on the TE30 though. You did mods because you weren't happy with it, or you did mods just because you wanted to get something different, customize. I hear the Harley Benton PRS style are heavy. Well, I did a review on that, Fat Philosopher, so go back and watch that review. They are a little bit heavy, a little bit, but they're nice guitars. What I don't like about some of the Harley Benton guitars, and the ones I have here, the Fusions don't have that issue, but the PRS style one did, is that they're using some kind of a tint on the fretboard. Makes it look dry, and when you play it, you get like tint on your fingers. Comes off, but not on the Fusions. The Fusions don't have that. I wish Toman would just come up with new colors, new styles, and whatnot. I feel like they're selling a lot of the same stuff for a long time. Like they should, cycle their inventory a little bit more often. Um, from your point of view, what is the best comfortable wood for the fretboard? Henry's asking me this question. Um, I like rosewood. Not because it's more comfortable, because I don't really think it's a comfort thing. Because honestly, you don't really feel the fretboard. Like when you're okay, I'm gonna take that back. I mean, your fingers do touch the fretboard a little bit, but most of the time it's suspended between your frets when your finger is on the string. It's not really touching the fretboard. Otherwise, you would be hearing like a scraping sound. Unless you use really light strings and you press really hard, then you would probably be hitting a lot of fretwood. But I don't have a really hard fret pressure. And when you go higher up on the frets, because the frets are closer together, you're really not touching the fretboard. You can see it if you hold your guitar this way and press down. You're a couple of millimeters off the fretboard. Only when you get to the lower frets here, and even at that, like I have to press hard. Maybe the first and second fret, I can get the string to touch the fretboard. But other than that, the string's not really touching the fretboard. So it's not really a question of comfort. It's a question of look more than anything. I like rosewood. I like the raw wood. I don't like having a poly on the neck. So if I have a maple neck, I'll try and get a maple neck that is not sprayed with poly. I find it makes it sticky. Does that answer your question, Henry? Michael wants to know if I've tried Billy Gibbons Dunlop 8 strings. No, I haven't. I'm curious about them because they're so thin. Maybe I'll try them one day. Apparently he loves them and he gets great tone, so I'm actually downgraded the thickness of my strings lately. So I used to have 9s and 10s, and now I'm trying these, which are uh, Diodario Nickel Wound Super Light Plus, which are 9.5s at the lowest end of the spectrum on the strings and 44s on the thicker strings. And I like them so far. I buy them in 3-packs because they're cheaper. I get them off Amazon so I don't have to go to a store and be tempted to buy something else. Go in for a pack of strings and walk out with a $2,000 guitar, if you know what I mean. So I just get them on Amazon and have them delivered to me. And so far, so good. I like them a lot. But I probably will try a set of those Billy Gibbons 8s, just out of curiosity. Fat Philosopher says, I've not actually ever played a maple fretboard, all ebony and rosewood. I mean, the difference is not huge. Like a lot of people, claim that the fretboard, the rosewood is warmer, the maple is a little bit brighter, and I do agree with that to a certain degree, but it's very subtle. Jason wants to know if I've had any experience with Planet Tone pickups. Great prices and sound pretty good online. I haven't tried their pickups. I've tried some of their other products. They make a whole bunch of accessories, tuners and strap locks and other things, but I haven't tried their pickups. I might eventually get around to doing that. Doug wants to know what my favorite amp is and the most played. The funny thing, Doug, is my favorite amp is not necessarily the most played. So my favorite amp of my current lineup, I would have to say, is my Dirty Shirley, which is just over my shoulder. You see it right there. Dirty Shirley, that guy. Great amplifier. I think I'm more of a Marshall guy. So that amplifier really is great. Friedman makes some fantastic stuff. Very expensive. You have to sell a kidney or two, but they're great, great amplifiers. I don't think I'll ever sell that one. I'm glad I bought it. And when I do play it, I'm in heaven. A less expensive version or cheaper amp that I like a lot nowadays is my Blackstar JJN20R, which is there, right there, the green one, that guy, right in the middle, and way less money than the Friedman. Still a great amplifier, and it's a combo. A lot of nice features. Plays quietly. You can get it down to minimal wattage in a studio. It works great, and it has a really nice sound to it. I still have to do a review on that one, guys. Sorry about that delay, but it's a great amp. It's pretty flexible. I like it a lot. And number three, I can't really say number three, but the Brunetti Pleximan, which is that one there, that's an Italian amplifier, comes from Italy, and it sounds like a Plexi, and it's great. It's definitely, like, I call it number three because I don't play it all that much, but if you want that Plexi sound, and that also goes down to like 5 watts, which is fantastic. 2 channels. It's like a modded Plexi. Sounds fantastic, and it's not that expensive. The Friedman, although it does have that Marshall-y tone to it, it's not a Marshall. It's definitely has its own thing going on. The Pleximan is more geared to give you that Plexi sound. which is something that I really like also. And then the Black Star is also kind of in that Marshall area of tone, but it's still not a Marshall, right? But it does give you that nice chewiness that you would get out of a cranked Marshall as well. So those are my, I would say, my top three. The other amps that I have, so the one underneath the little cover there, that's a Fender Supersonic 22. Great amplifier in my opinion. Nice Fender cleans. They tried to get some good overdrive tones out of that particular model, but Fender is really known for its cleans. I don't really play that amp for the dirty channel. And then underneath, you can't really see it. It's behind the Black Star, and underneath the head rush, there's a Bass Breaker 15, which is also a very nice amplifier from Fender. It's a head, 15 watts, and it sounds wonderful when you crank it. One day I have to do a review of all of these amplifiers. Like I got to take the the Dirty Shirley, the Black Star, the Pleximan, and the Bass Breaker and do like a side-by-side shootout. And just to give you an idea of what they sound like. It's funny because there is quite a bit of overlap. So those are my amps for right now. But you know, they're not necessarily the most played. The stuff that I like to play through right now, believe it or not, are my multi-effects units, because I'm doing a lot of recording and stuff like that, and I can play them totally silent, and I have a whole bunch of effects to my disposal, as well as a whole bunch of great tones, and they're not that expensive, you know. So I've been playing a lot of those. I have the NUX MG300, which I spoke about last week, which is a really affordable, inexpensive multi-effects unit that has some really nice sounds in it. I was actually impressed with it just because of the price. I wasn't expecting it to sound so good. And putting that through my Headrush FR cabinet, it rocks. It really sounds great. So, you know, I like variety, so sometimes those amps don't get used as much because they're loud and I have to go through my pedal board and I'm limited to the sounds that I can get out of my pedals. Whereas the multi-effects units, I have a whole bunch more tones available to me. Sorry for babbling, guys, but that's basically that's basically it. Any other question, guys? Paul says, I never buy a guitar online without mentally adding $200 USD to fix it. I do not care if it is new or used. 200 bucks. Yeah, I mean, if you're not doing your setups and you want to change your pickups, I think that's about right. Um, Jack Collins says, I love my EXP LTD. I owned two of them. They were a lot more popular in the early 80s and stuff. A lot of people were playing the EXPs. I remember them. Cohen says, I tried sharing a link. It doesn't work. Yeah, maybe it's just a feature of the software. It doesn't allow you to do it. Fat Philosopher says, I'm not a fan of strap locks, kind of a hassle, and there are cheaper ways to lock straps. Absolutely. You can get those rubber beer seals. They're free, and you get a beer. You get a free beer with them. They're great. I use those. Floyd Rose bridges are a pain. If you play out with one on your guitar, you better have backup guitars on hands and a decently fast tech. Yes, I agree. Floyd Rose guitar. I don't have any more Floyd Rose guitars. I sold all of them, and I don't think I'll get another one unless it's like an EVH tribute guitar or something that I'm gonna hang on my wall, and I want it to look like the original. I don't think I'm gonna bother with Floyd Roses anymore because you said it. They're a pain, man. They're a pain to set up when you change your strings. They're a pain if you want to do alternate tunings. You can't. If you want to do play different styles, you can't really do that. And if you break a string, it's a pain. And the strings still go out of tune. I rarely had a Floyd that would stay in tune no matter what. So nowadays, there's other options. They're making good quality bridges that are not necessarily, 100%. Like it doesn't mean you're not going to have tuning issues, but I don't mind retuning from time to time. Big deal. It's less hassle than having to do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, for me, I'm not a big fan. Jason wants to know if I have any experience with any Two Notes products. Just ordered the Two Notes Torpedo Captor X. I'm a tube amp guy, and that's never used any IRs or anything like that. So I've done a lot of research on those Two Note products because I do make videos where I have to do reviews, and sometimes if you're playing through a power amplifier live, it gets loud, and it's definitely nice to have the option of going through something that you can use IRs with to emulate cabinets. And also they have products that will do it silently, which is super great. If you haven't played with IRs before, you're going to like it because there's a lot of flexibility using IR emulations for cabinets. And if you're doing a lot of recording, they're really great. They're expensive. They're not cheap, but they're well-made devices. Do they sound exactly like an amplifier when you're miking it? I would say not 100%. There's always going to be some kind of a drawback in terms of the sound, but they're pretty close. And the flexibility is something wonderful to have when you're trying to record at home and you want to do it silently. So I think you're going to love it. No reason not to get one if you can afford it. Inventor says measurement mic is better for recording guitar compared to the Shure everybody uses. I don't know what you mean by measurement mic. What is that? Can you explain? I'm not following you. Alan says, I agree. Floyd's take ages to restring and set up so they work correctly. The special tools are a must for intonation. Yeah, if you break a string when you're playing a Floyd, it's like a 40-minute thing. You know what I mean? Lucky Rock says, I like ebony. I like ebony too. Gibson should make more ebony fretboards on their guitars. The neck pickup on the TE30 was a bit weak, so I swapped it for a Tex-Mex set. Sounds way better now. You got to find what you like. The Tex-Mex pickups are a little bit hotter, so yeah, they do sound good though. Back in the late 80s, our rhythm guitarist had one. As soon as he broke a string, he was out for 2-3 songs changing it. Exactly. That's what I mean. So it's a good idea. It was a good idea, but I think right now, I don't know. I'm not into them anymore. Inventor says the most comfortable woods for touch is boxwood because it has highest density, no grain. All right. I don't know how that will be comfortable though. Yeah, once again, they're not ideal for playing live. A backup guitar is essential. 100%. Fat Philosopher says, if you're a famous enough guitarist to afford a guitar tech with spare guitars, get a Floyd. If not, steer clear. I agree. Momstein and Page play eights. Really? I didn't know that Jimmy Page played eights. Really? Sure about that? If he played eights, I gotta play eights, man. I'm gonna go buy a pack today. Have you checked out the new inspired by Gibson Epiphone Les Paul special with P90s? Not yet. It's interesting. Definitely caught my attention. The Epiphone headstock is still causing me a mental block. That's the only reason why I didn't necessarily pick one up yet. Because it is a nice guitar and I like the P90s. I have to get I have to get over the headstock, Ed. Lucky Rocks one says I like my GHS Angry Charlie. It's a sweet sounding pedal. I came this close to buying one, uh, but I didn't because they're expensive, and I thought I'd wait. But I probably will eventually try one of those. Tom Schultz of Boston uses 8s too thin for me, 10s are too thick, 9s are my perfect comfort zone. Try the 9.5s. Try them. Let me know how you feel. Bruce says, fretboard wood, super clean amp. You might hear slight difference. High gain settings, you'll never tell a difference. Exactly. It's more of the placebo effect, I think, when it comes to neck woods. Like, never once has somebody been able to say to me on that record or on that recording, or by not looking at what you're playing, he can tell me what fretboard wood is on my guitar. Impossible. Impossible. I would try and do the experiment just for fun, but it's futile. There's no way I'd be able to tell. Inventor says I was surprised the stereo hi-fi is a better pedal platform compared to my guitar amp. Why is that? First time I hear that. I've never played through a stereo hi-fi. Saul says, I like high frets on my electric guitars and looking for an acoustic with high frets. Any suggestions? An acoustic with high frets? I'm sure that they're available as an option on most of them. If you check with the manufacturer, you can probably get them. How high are you talking in terms of frets? Access says I use a D'Addario 4 to 96s, work for me. Bruce says everybody thought BB King used heavy strings to get tone. In an interview, he said not true. Wondered why anyone would want to work that hard to bend the strings. Yeah, I've heard that too many times. He was actually talking about Billy Gibbons. Billy Gibbons has mentioned that a few times where he says, like, why are you working so hard? And ever since then, he went down to 8s. Don't think you can get a better clean sound than a Fender clean. Absolutely. Love the bass breaker cleans. The funny thing, Fat Philosopher, the bass breaker cleans, they're not extremely clean. The Supersonic's way cleaner than my bass breaker. My bass breaker is always on the verge of breakup. But if you crank that thing up, it sounds great. It's got a lot of sustain and low end. Fantastic. Take it easy, bud. Thanks for joining us today. Tim says, compare the JJN to the FBJ if you can. Totally different sound. I guess you're talking about the Fender Blues Junior. Not the same beast at all. The Blues Junior is a one-channel amp. It doesn't have an effects loop. Um, it has a spring reverb, and it doesn't go down in wattage. Um, Totally different feel. The Blues Junior is a lot stiffer under the fingers when you play it. It's to get like a singing sustain out of the Blues Junior, you really have to crank it quite a bit. You know, put the master down, put the volume all the way up, and it's still like pretty bright. You probably have to do a speaker swap to try and get it tamed a little bit. The JJN is not like that at all. It's really more of a. It breaks up really nice. The has a digital reverb. It doesn't have. It has an effects loop and a direct out, which the Blues Junior doesn't have. Two channels with a voicing control, so you have two different channels, and both of them have a voicing on off switch, so you can tweak the sound. Not as clean as the Blues Junior, but still you can get some nice clean sounds out of it by riding the volume knob. And they're not that different in price. So I sold my Blues Junior. I used to have one and it was modified, and I sold the Blues Junior, and I don't regret selling it. I sold the Blues Junior to get the Bass Breaker 15, actually, before I got the JJN. But if I still had the Blues Junior today, I probably would be playing the JJN more, because it is more of a Marshall sound. If you're a Fender guy, you might prefer the Blues Junior, but I like more of the Marshall tone. So I hope that answers your question, Tim. Bruce says you can get an Ampero for the same price as a single boutique pedal, no brainer. Agreed. And although I like the Ampero, I like the cleans on the NUX MG300 more. And I'm going to do a little review on that so you can hear it. That's where I find the NUX MG300 is better on the cleans. The Ampero is good overall. It's a great unit. No complaints, but the cleans on the MG are better, I believe. Take it easy, Cohen. Nice for stopping by, buddy. Fat Philosopher says Ibanez Zero Bridge better than Floyd's. I don't know why more guitars don't use a zero bridge. They should. I think it's a great invention. Can't get ebony anymore, protected species. That's true, although I know Martin is using a man-made ebony. I don't know what it's actually called. It looks like ebony, but it's not. Very dark, very tight grain, beautiful actually. And I was surprised to learn that it's not ebony. So there's alternatives that they can use. So Fat Philosopher confirmed it. According to Premier Guitar Magazine, Page played 8s. Gotta get 8s. I'm gonna put some 8s on my Gibson, see how that works for me. Hey Joey, nice to see you, buddy. Love that semi-hollow PRS in the background. Yeah, that's Zach Meyer's semi-hollow body PRS. It's great. If you can find one used somewhere in your area, get one, man. You won't regret it. Bruce says hi-fi amps are basically FR/FS, won't color the sound. So I guess you're talking about FR/FR speakers. Okay, so that's what you're referring to. I thought you meant like hi-fi as in playing through your stereo system. Yeah, hi-fi are great. FR/FR speakers are great. If you're using a multi-effects unit, definitely get an FR/FR speaker. Way better than going through a guitar cabinet. I know Billy Gibbons sells 7-gauge strings as well. Sevens are a little bit thin. You probably cut your fingers on the high E string. It's so thin. I don't know how long they would last. I would probably have to buy extra sets because they would break. Joey says I have 2016 FSR Bass Breaker 15 with greenbacks. I love it. It's a great amp, and I'm sure it sounds great with greenbacks. I pump it through a different cabinets here with different types of speakers, and the one I like the best is my that one, the Marshall 412 with with 65s. Those are original made in England speakers, 65s. Sounds great. Sounds huge. Yeah, exactly, Paul. That's what I meant. Like, you're not gonna play. Don't play FR speakers through. Like, don't play your regular pedals through an FR speaker. It won't sound good. But if you play a modeler with cabinet emulation through FR speakers, then you're gonna be better off. Henry wants to know what semi-hollow PRS is beautiful. Thanks, man. What do you think of Epiphone Les Paul ES Memphis or Florentine? Let me take a look. I'm not familiar with the Florentine. Let me put this guitar down. I have to say, the Gibson Memphis 335s are great. I would love to get one of those, especially since they mimic the inlays, the classic inlays and stuff like that. Those really like, I really like those a lot. But the Epiphone, let me check it out. The ES Memphis. So the ES Memphis, just take a quick look here, guys. So much stuff. Grab some pictures here. So the thing with the Epiphone, and I said it over a couple of minutes ago, is the headstock. I just can't get over the Epiphone headstock, even though they've changed it now and made it a little bit less Epiphony. The thing that I don't like about less expensive imports, they often will get like neck material that is light in color. And that bothers me. I don't like fretboards that are like lighter, that are supposed to be rosewood but are lighter. So, and it's not a full-size body from what I can tell. They're not as big as the real 335. So, but if you go with a Gibson 335 Memphis, those are pretty cool. I like those a lot. So if it was me, I would probably pass on it. Not because it's not a bad guitar. I'm sure if you like the hollow body stuff, it could make a great guitar. But I already have a Gibson 335 and another one. So for me personally, I would pass on it. But if you're looking at getting a first hollow body, then it could be cool. Have you played any of the Buddha Super Drive series amps? They are They have a Friedman preamp on it. No, I haven't. I haven't played that particular series. I would have to find a local dealer that has them to be able to hear them. Have you tried them, William? What do you think of them? Michael says, my daughter's boyfriend just purchased a Fender made in Mexico with Paul Ferro fretboard. Any thoughts on these new fingerboards? I like, again, the Paul Ferro is lighter and has more grain. It's very similar to what I showed you on the Harley Benton. I prefer darker fretboards. So if you can get a dark Paul Ferro one, I could live with that. But I don't like fretboards that are not that dark. I don't like to see them, like, if they look dried out to me, I don't like that. Joey says the sevens are called Reverend Willie's Mexican lottery strings or something to that effect. I've seen them, but thought that they would be way too small. I don't know if they have them in my local store. I would have to find them. I'd like to try them just for as an experiment, just to see how it goes. Henry says, yes, Memphis are only secondhand now. I see. Paul Ferro is a pretty common tone wood in South America, not endangered. Yeah, exactly. That's why they're using them more and more often. If they tint them, I think it would be nice. Joey says, I love all my Epiphones until I bought myself a real SG. Then the shortcomings of the Epiphones were very evident. They still sound good, but just not as open and clear as my Gibsons. Now, have you tried just swapping the pickups? I know this is becoming cliche because I swap my pickups all the time, but I'm pretty sure you can probably get very close to the Gibson sound if you just change the pickups. Alan says Paul Ferro looks way too light to me. I hope Rosewood makes a comeback. You know what? The thing with Rosewood, yeah, it's endangered, but there's different species of Rosewood that are not. So I don't know if they're all protected now, but I have a feeling they're not. So you can probably still get Rosewood, just that it would be a different species. I think it's the Indian Rosewood that is actually protected right now. William says, yeah, I own a Buddha Super Drive 18. I totally dig mine. Great cleans, great overdrive, good pedal platform. Can't say anything bad about it. So what is the price range for that particular amp? What did you pay? Henry says, fretboard on my Tokai is rosewood from India. I think mine are too. Before they actually started taking the rosewood off the market, I tried to get as many as I could with rosewood because I like rosewood and I knew it was going to get hard to get some of those. Nowadays, if the fretboard's too light, I won't buy it. Gibson came out with the baked stuff and tried to mimic rosewood and all that, and I wasn't buying it. I didn't want to buy that. A lot of people didn't know that you can get the Zach Myers Pure S and anything but that trans green. I don't like the green. The one I have is a little bit harder to find, but it looks way nicer, I believe. I'll show you the grain. Excuse me. The green on that's beautiful. Way nicer than the trans green, in my opinion. So, and if you look inside the actual the F hole there, you'll notice it's a solid top. It's not like laminated or anything. It is a veneer, but the top is solid. At this price point, you probably wouldn't get a solid flame top like that. And also the binding is not plastic, it's actually the top. So great guitar, love it. Also changed the pickups on it. In case you're wondering, in case you want to ask me, don't ask, just don't assume I didn't change the pickups because most of the time I do. So you paid $600 for your Buddha. That's pretty good. That's a pretty affordable price. That's nice. I might have to take a look at them when if one pops up on the used market. William also says I run it into a Harley Benton 212 with the V30s, and those are also very affordable cabinets. I saw those as well, and I thought, wow, that's pretty inexpensive for a cabinet. So you got a good deal there. Frugal man, I like that. That's true. The rosewood is being has been snagged up over the years to make furniture, and it's mostly gone. But if you do have rosewood furniture, hang on to it. It's going to be worth a lot of money. Joe says, I like it a lot more than that trans green. That's one reason didn't get one. Yeah, me too. I'm not a big fan of the trans green. I don't know why they came up with that. Hey, I got to make you guys laugh. Got to make you laugh. Something else I want to show you guys. Now we're talking about PRS, right? Let me just find that. Where did I put it? Here it is. Check this out. I'm going to share this on my screen. You're going to laugh. So funny. So I came across this article. Check this out. So PRS unveils the Snarling Tiger. And this is a private stock guitar. Okay, this guitar is 20 grand, 20,000 bucks. So they have this beautiful guitar and they put Tony the Tiger on it. Look how ugly that is. Now, you know, private stock guitars are beautiful. And I'm not going to say that they're worth what they're asking. It's still 20,000 bucks for a guitar. But if you would give me a guitar with Tony the Tiger on it like that and expect me to pay 20,000 bucks, no way I would do that. I wouldn't grab that guitar. I mean, to me, the back of the guitar looks way better than the front of the guitar, you know? So I don't know how many of these are going to sell, but in my opinion, it's a real joke. 21,000 bucks. And it's funny because when I was reading the Guitar World article, they were very diplomatic. Nobody made any jokes or said, you know, how ugly and stupid this idea was. But I had to share with you guys. How many of you guys would spend 20 grand on that? Just out of curiosity. If you had 20 grand to spend on a guitar. They're coming out with some crazy ideas over at PRS. I think they're trying to like expand, you know, the type of offerings that they have. But dude, if you're going to try and sell me a $20,000 guitar, don't put a Tony the Tiger on it. Yeah, Joey, keep your eyes open for them. They do pop up now from time to time. Maybe try Reverb. Maybe you can lowball somebody on Reverb and try and get a good deal on it. They're pretty, they come up from time to time. Tony, what did you think of the lemon green top on my new custom? I sent you the picture. I thought it looked cool. I thought it was coming along really nicely, man. It's going to look great. When are you expected to, when are you getting it exactly? When's it going to be ready? So far, so good, man. It looks really nice. William says, don't dig the tiger. No kidding. Tiger looks stupid. Yeah, it's really on it, man. It's really on it, Joey. They have some really nice ones, but they're just asking too much for their guitars now. I mean, come on, 20,000 bucks I could buy a car. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can find a lot of better ways to spend 20 G's, William. Joey says, "Yeah, I get lowballed all the time. That's why I just started collecting instead of selling." So you're the guy who's selling on your reverb at prices that are too high. I was wondering who that was. Fat Philosopher says his guitar's coming in December for Christmas. That's going to make a wonderful Christmas gift for you, Fat Philosopher. You're going to be a happy man. Cool Tune says they can't put Tony the Tiger on. It's got to be a mistake. Just can't be. That would make not worth $50. Yeah, I agree, man. It's silly. Somebody's not thinking over at PRS lately. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but hey, if they can get away with it and they're laughing all the way to the bank, good for them. Anyways, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. I went way overboard. We've been talking for over 2 hours, 2 hours and 16 minutes now. So I think we're overdue. Let me just check one thing before we wrap it up over here. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up, guys, because although I can go on for another hour very easily, I think you guys made it a lot of fun this weekend, this Sunday. We're gonna be looking forward to the next one. If you guys have comments about my videos, the ones that I've done this week regarding the NUX Mighty Air and whatnot, we'll wrap up with that if you have any questions. I know there was a couple of people that had asked me and were concerned about the price on that one. They were basically saying how they thought it was too expensive. And I think the Mighty Air it has its place in terms of people wanting to play and having the ability to play wherever. $200 is not cheap. I agree with you, but the features that it has and the software and everything is pretty nice and pretty sweet for somebody who just wants to have a Bluetooth speaker that they can play through. If you haven't already checked out that video, guys, check it out. I made two this week. One talking about the NUX itself and another one going through the software. And I gave you a sample of the sounds coming through the actual speakers on the device, as well as the unit being played directly into a recorder, so you can get a better idea of the reverb sounds and ping pong delays and all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty nifty unit and something that could be very interesting if you want to have it lying around the house so that you don't have to go stumbling around for your amplifier whenever you get that creative idea that you like to play through. So check that one out. Well, thank you very much for the nice comments, guys. I really do appreciate you tuning in, and really great to see new faces this week. I appreciate that as well. And I'm looking forward to the next one too, Fat Philosopher. So definitely try and tune in next Sunday. I don't know why they're already sold out. Maybe they were low on stock to begin with because of the COVID situation, but I'm sure they'll be back in stock soon. So if you're interested in picking one up, just keep your eyes open for on Amazon or on the NUX website. But it's all good. Henry, thanks for tuning in, my friend. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy yourself. And Paul, thank you for the comments, man. Has to be the most successful show online. No one who finds it will not get hooked. I appreciate it, dude. I really do. Hopefully we'll have more people visiting us next week when we have our next one. Fat Philosopher says the discussion question was really eye-opening. Lots of smart dudes here. I agree. And thanks for participating. Bruce Brooks, adios, amigos. You too, Bruce. Thanks for another great Sunday, everyone, and looking forward to the next one. If you have any other comments and you missed the show and you're watching the rerun, leave your comments below and we'll answer them. All right? Take it easy, boys. See you again next week. Stay safe.